Well, well, well. So for months and months, we've had to listen to Pokemon Sword and Shield haters. Oh, it's exit. This is the end of Pokemon. This is the end of the world. This is the end of gaming as we know it. Game Freak has lied. They've sold out. It was really, really tiring. And being known as someone, who would frequently rant on here, such as myself, I always take companies and people to task here on this channel when it calls for it. But this was going overboard. I understand if your favorite Pokemon didn't make it into this game, but now with the level and number of Pokemon that they have now in the Pokemon universe, we knew that at some point it was going to be impossible to include all these creatures. So the time finally came and fans lost their mind, to say the least. I mean, talk about understatement of the decade, understatement of the century. The biggest understatement of all time is to say that fans lost their minds over this. And guess what? After all the crying and complaining, and look, I'm not saying that there weren't valid criticisms, but then there was even ridiculous things being said, like these graphics looked exactly like they did on the 3DS. They looked exactly like Sun and Moon. They said that they reused models from Sun and Moon, even though these graphics are higher res and the models are so much sharper and they're like 10 times better. People were still saying this. Then there was someone who came out and said that the trees in the wild area of the game looked exactly like they did in Ocarina of Time, which was also false. There was just so many things being said about this game. You thought that you were probably going to be playing one of the worst games of all time when you popped this into your Nintendo Switch. Well, the day came, and I played Pokemon Shield, which was the version that I decided on due to the Ghost Gym. And I have to say, I'm having the time of my life. Okay, so maybe it's not the greatest Pokemon game of all time. Maybe it's not everything that we hoped in a main console, main line Pokemon game. But I will have to tell you, it is pretty good. The game looks good. It has the classic Pokemon charm. There's a number of new Pokemon that look great. Some of them are okay, but nevertheless, this is an enjoyable entry in the series, and there's nothing really wrong about it. Also, people were talking about a ton of glitches. I'll have you know that I haven't even experienced a single glitch yet while playing this game. So, to say that these claims are overblown, false, and it's funny that a lot of people were saying that Game Freak was lying, it seems that we had a very vocal minority that was lying as well, or they wanted this, what they were trying to push as facts, to be true. And it turns out that the sales figures, well, these people didn't listen to that vocal minority at all, because the game sold 6 million copies in its release weekend, which is just amazing. A huge, massive success that proved that the power of Pokemon and the power of just looking at the game and fairly assessing it and not going by what other people are saying about it. It's really refreshing to know that that holds true. That people are not going to listen to the message board warmongers, that the people who wanted to basically start, a coup against Game Freak, that people were not listening to these nut jobs. And I'm sorry that I need to go that far, but I do need to say that. If you went over on Game FAQs, if you checked out those message boards, you would see a wealth and you're still seeing it, but I think people have quieted down because now they know that narrative is not really carrying as much water as it once did before the release, because before the game was released, you really didn't know a lot about the game, so, you know, you were really listening to what people were saying, but it turned out that people didn't even listen, and if they did listen to these people, it had the exact opposite effect that the haters were hoping and praying that it was going to have. They were hoping that this was going to be the worst selling Pokemon game of all time, that all the Pokemon fans were going to turn on Game Freak. But this really shows that most people actually keep their mouth shut on the internet, and they don't hate, and they don't scream, cry, and yell when they don't get their way on every little thing. Now you know that when it came to something like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I actually, opposed the design. I didn't believe what people were saying when, this is fan entitlement, that they got the filmmakers to change the way how the movie looks. That's wrong. This was the filmmakers' interpretation, and they deserve to have their own interpretation. They caved into the fans. See, I went against all that and said, no, this movie looks horrible. They need to change it. And I also tried the same thing with Half-Life. Alex. I said that this is not the game we want. We don't want a Half-Life Alex. We want Half-Life 3. And people downvoted my video. So you see, you can't win. You have to have your own opinions. You have to set your own standards. And you have to buy the games that you want to buy. And you have to ignore the other people's opinions out there. Because you'll drive yourself crazy if you're going by what others are saying. Pokemon Sword and Shield, it has good music, it has good graphics, it has that same classic Pokemon gameplay. Not a lot has changed. Not all the Pokemon are in it, but it's not like they didn't add new ones. It's not like there's not a totally new story. It's not like they didn't give us a whole entire wild area with weather effects and different things to see and to discover. People ignored all of that in favor of just hate and just disparaging remarks towards Game Freak. And it totally got out of hand. So I'm happy now that we finally got the game. We get to see it for ourselves, and we don't have to listen to all the hate mongering and all the craziness on the internet about how Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to break Pokemon and destroy the franchise. So guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, I'll see you next time.